It's the perfect place to be eating prawn fritters. Let's try these out.
Malaysia has some of the best food in the world. We're taking you on a huge food tour to show you the unique diversity of Malaysia's food culture.
I'm Thomas.
And I'm Sheena, and we're chasing a plate.
We hope you're hungry. Let's eat.
We're starting our food hunting day of Perak and Penang in a tiny village called Enggor, and we're here to try a food called Kuih Kundas. Let's go and check it out. Alright, we've ordered our Kuih Kundas. Kuih is a Malaysian sweet or snack, and this is the Kuih Kundas. So it just seems to be a deep fried dough, and then it's served with this quite watery and what looks to be a peanut spicy sauce. So let's just grab a bit of this Kuih Kundas and dip it in that sauce. This is a popular breakfast dish or snack in this village, and apparently Kuih Kundas is actually quite hard to find, so we've come to this village specifically to eat this. It's really good. So it's very simple. It's just a dough. It's not crispy. It's gone quite soft, quite bready and cakey. And then that sauce is a peanut sauce, but it's quite sweet. Not spicy at all. It's more sweet and a little. You can really taste that peanut. To wash it all down, we've ordered a coffee. So coffee in Malaysia is black coffee, hot water, and then a ton of condensed milk to give it a real creamy sweetness. And that's going to go down so well and kick off our huge food hunting day.
We're now in Kuala Kangsar and it's time for Laksa, and check this Laksa out. So Laksa is a noodle soup, but this one is famous because of this egg on top. So that, believe it or not, is a fried egg. Look at it, it looks like a bird's nest. We'll rip into that in a moment, but first let's just look at the Laksa itself. So it is a fish-based broth. You can see the sort of grittiness in the broth. It then has a rice noodle underneath. There is some lettuce in there I can see, some cucumber, some onion bits floating around. There's some good little red bits of chili. There's some asam kiping, which is a local fruit, and asam means sour, so that will be a sour fruit. And that's all I can see going on in there, but that's all just swimming together. But this egg, let's just rip into it. Now I don't know if this is going to have a yolk that bursts or... Wow! Okay, I can't see any yolk as such, but wow, it just rips apart. So it's got a bit of a crispiness to it. Wow, so no, I can't see any yolk. It's just this crispy, beautiful, bird's nesty egg. I'm going to try some of this broth, see what it tastes like. Oh, yum, it's really fishy, really salty. It's got a great little spice. The fish itself has like a sort of grittiness to it, which is incredible. And the spice level's perfect. But I gotta try some of this egg. Let's rip off a big bit of that egg. Oh, look at it, it's been soaked in that broth. Awesome. I've got broth all over my chin. So the egg has obviously a really good egg taste, but it actually has more of a fried taste. So because it's so fried, it doesn't have any sort of egg white texture. Right, let's do one beautiful spoon with the broth. We've got some of these rice noodles, some lettuce, and there's some cucumber hiding in there too. I had that sour fruit as well, and that gave a burst. It was actually quite sweet, but it had a little bit of sourness, that salty fish broth, the crunchiness of the egg on top. It is a very good bowl of laksa, and I love that egg on top. I reckon that egg is worth you subscribing for. Make sure you head down below, hit that thumbs up, like button, and hit subscribe. They've just asked me to come back into the kitchen so I can see how those eggs are done. So it's a it's a batter egg, so the egg's been beaten up as if you were going to scramble it, and then one little spoonful's chucked into the really hot oil, and it just spreads by itself and creates that sort of bird's nest effect. That is really cool.
Our next stop is a Halal kopitiam, or traditional coffee shop, and we're here to try their famous pao, or steamed buns. In particular, this beef bun that we've ordered. It is so soft. I'm just going to rip that piece of paper off on the bottom and then crack into it. Oh, it is so soft, honestly. Wow. And then look at that filling. So it's filled with beef, and then there's some chunks of onion in there, and it's cooked in some sort of red sauce. Let's just give this a big old bite. That bread is just so pillowy. It sort of just melts in your mouth. Sometimes I find pao can be quite stodgy if they're not made correctly, but this is just the opposite. It's so soft, and the filling is really flavoursome. So the onion is really sweet. The beef is just sort of really coarsely minced, and it has a bit of chew, and there's just a tiny bit of spice in that gravy that it's coated in. We've heard that these are so famous and so well known in Kuala Kangsar that whenever the palace has events, the royal family order hundreds of these pao to serve to their guests, and I can see why. These are really good.
Next, we're in this small fishing village of Kuala Kurau, which is still in Perak, and we've found these famous prawn fritters. So this lady is frying them here at the moment. They're these beautiful little discs, and this town is stunning. It's right on the river. There is fish laid out and drying, beautiful wooden houses built over the water. It's the perfect place to be eating prawn fritters. Let's try these out. Okay lah. We've got our prawn fritters, and they are the most beautiful golden looking little things. So they've been cut into separate pieces for us, and you can see they're kind of rounded, and that's because they've been turned out of the spoon. So when she was making them, she was taking a big scoop of this mixture, which is turnip, the white stuff, and some chives, so the green bits, and then on top of that she was placing the prawns and pouring the batter over that mixture, and then placing the prawns on top. So you can see these golden, beautiful prawns here all on top. Let's flip a few more over. Oh, look at that big fleshy bit. Let's give one a go. I'm just gonna stab it. Now they have actually come with these noodles as well, and I think the idea is that you wrap these yellow noodles around the fritter, but I'm gonna try one by itself first. So we've got this spicy sauce here, which is quite a runny sauce. Let's really give that a good dunking. Let's get this one down. Wow. They are so light. So that mixture inside, the turnip and the chives, is still really loose. So it's not chewy, it's not stodgy, it's not oily. That just breaks apart and has a really fresh flavor. There's a little bit of a zing from the chives. I didn't actually taste the prawn very much in that one. I'm gonna grab another one. This one's got a good prawn body and a prawn like tail on it. Yeah, the prawns are just perfect. They have a little bit of crunch from the shell, but it doesn't break up and get stuck in your teeth like I find sometimes happens with prawn shells. And then the flesh is perfectly cooked. Let's try with these yellow noodles, because I don't quite know how to do this, so I'm going to try and give it a go. So let's just grab a bunch of those. We'll dump it on top there. This is a little bit awkward to deal with, so let's just dunk that whole thing. Wow, look at that sauce dripping off the noodles. Okay, let's try and do this without making a big mess. That's really good. The prawn fritter is obviously the thing that sings, like that is the flavor. I think the noodles must be an addition just to bulk out this meal. Personally, it's all about the fritters for me. The noodles didn't really add anything. In fact, they kind of took away from the fritter. It's all about these beautiful, crunchy, fresh, textural fritters. Incredible. The ladies at the restaurant just showed me how to deal with these noodles, so I'll show you. So we get the fritter, we grab a little bit of noodles like this, sort of hold it at the top, and then wrap it around, almost like you were sewing and you were wrapping a thread around. So now it's a very easy to handle little package, although now it's falling off again. But we hold it with our fingers, dunk it. Much easier. And our drinks have just arrived. Look at these. One's a pineapple one for Sheena, and mine is a coffee and Milo or Milo mix. I think Sheena's is the most spectacular, so I think she should talk about hers.
How spectacular does it look? So it's just chunks of pineapple, I think in that sugar syrup or liquid, and then it's just been piled with all this shaved ice. It is perfect for a day like this because it is so sticky and hot in Kuala Kurau today. Let's try this. It's cold, it's refreshing, it's sweet, and it really just has this beautiful pineapple flavor. So it is just, I think, a sugar syrup and then those chunks of pineapple.
Let's try this Milo ice that they're famous for. So Milo is a chocolate malt drink, and in Malaysia it's actually called Milo, not Milo like we call it in New Zealand. So this is coffee and the Milo mix, and a huge chunk of ice on top of this one too. Whoa, it's really malty, really chocolatey. Coffee is like the underlying flavor. I thought coffee would be the strong flavor and the Milo or the Milo would be the weaker flavor, but it's the opposite way around. Really malty with that chocolateness, really sweet from the Milo because the Milo has sugar in it, and then the coffee flavor. That is another great drink.
We've driven from Perak into Penang, and we've arrived at this little town called Nibong, Tebal, to a shop that's making traditional Teochew candies, and they've done so for 150 years. You can see behind me the team is hard at work. They're pounding peanuts, they're laying out caramel. It's a hive of activity. We saw them making two types of peanut sweets in there, and the smell of peanuts was so strong, so fragrant. But we bought ourselves a packet of the ak-am. So the ak-am was what we saw the guy making, where he was spreading out that thick, almost glue-like mixture, and that's just made out of flour, rice syrup and sugar. They've cooked it down, spread it out to cool, and then it started making the sweet. So inside that mixture is almost like a peanut cookie or biscuit. It's really flaky, made up of layers and layers of sort of ground up peanuts. And then on the outside is a ton of roasted or toasted sesame seeds, which smells so fragrant. Let's just give this a big old bite. Wow, it's so interesting. There's a real contrast of textures. So the inside, the peanut, is really flaky, very sweet, but very light. The outer sort of sticky bit is not as sticky as I thought it would be. It's quite jelly-like, almost soft, very sweet. And then you've got the nuttiness or savouriness of those sesame seeds on the outside. That is really tasty. definitely one for people who have a sweet tooth.
Our next stop in Penang is for crab porridge. So this is the porridge, and it has got a huge whole crab, so that's been cut in half. That's sitting in there. You can see it's just been whacked into two. It's got some lettuce. It has got lots of coriander or cilantro, as it's known in America. And then it's not that thick, this porridge. It is called crab porridge, but it's more in like a broth, and then you can see the rice, which would be, it's rice porridge, but it's very chunky still, so it hasn't gone right down and become mush really. So it's a very thin broth with still like very soft, but still full bits of rice in there. So I'm going to try some of this broth. I'll tell you, the smells are really good. Oh, yeah. Oh, that coriander flavour has really come through the broth. It's got a beautiful seafood flavour. Let's have a bit more. It's quite creamy actually. Yeah, the crab flavour's just, it's been cooked out, and you've got all that flavour of the crab in there. And there's only a tiny bit of oil on the broth, so it's not all oily in the mouth. It just is really silky, creamy. It's a tiny bit more, but I'm going to grab some of that lettuce. I love lettuce in something like this because it soaks up all that beautiful broth. That is so good, that broth.
Alright, let's get a mouthful of this soup. It looks like, as Thomas said, not so much a congee or a porridge, but more like a rice soup. It's smelling really good though. Wow. It's really subtle in flavour, really clean tasting, and the grains of rice haven't just all soaked up that broth. There's very little rice, more soup, so you can really sort of crunch on the grains almost, so not crunchy, but just like al dente rice. Let's tackle this crab though. Look at how impressive its pincer looks. What I'm going to do is just give it a big old bite. There's just no other way, I don't think. Wow. And when I bit into that crab, the meat was so sweet. So it's just really like perfectly cooked. The meat is really tender, very sweet. These are going to be quite hard to get into, I think, but we'll just have to crack them with our teeth and give them a go like that. But this is really delicious. It's just really simple, full of flavour from that coriander and that seafood broth. And then that rice just sort of adds a really comforting element. This is really tasty. Okay, so I've got this huge pincer here, and I'm just going to try and crack it with my teeth. Alright, okay, so I've broken that open. Wow, look at that big piece of meat in there. I'm just going to actually try and, oh, to see all the juice as I pulled it out. Pull out a bit of that meat and give that a go. It's so sweet.
And that's our huge food tour all over the states of Perak and Penang done. Such a good day of eating.
Remember to hit that subscribe button for heaps more food videos. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this one.
And we love seeing what you are eating, so make sure you hashtag Chasing a Plate on Instagram and Facebook so we can see what meals you guys are having as well.
Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Jumpa lagi!
Jumpa lagi!